Hello everyone and welcome aboard the beautiful Allure of the Seas for today's ship tour. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button for all of the upcoming Allure of the Seas content that we have coming for our 3-day cruise that we just sailed on for her. But anyways, what we do here on this channel is that we start at the very top in the very front of the ship and we pretty much zigzag our way all the way down to the bottom on the very last passenger area on board. So we're starting up here on the solarium, which is the adults relaxation area. Lots of pools, lots of loungers that you can see here. And then right up on deck 16, right above or the top level of the solarium, we have the solarium bar. So this will span decks 15, and then there's also a entrance to deck 16 inside the solarium as well for that solarium bar. And then as you continue back on the ship, there is a cantilever whirlpool or a hot tub that hangs over the side of the ship on both sides, so port and starboard side. So you can see here's one of them, and then we can flip over to the other side, and here's the other one. All Oasis class ships are like that, except for Utopia and Wonder, where they only have it on one side. So hot tubs on both sides that hang over the side of the ship, which is really, really neat. Then making our way back, we are on deck 16. This is the upper pool deck here on our day at sea on board Allure of the Seas. Here we have some of the general seating area for the pool deck. We're looking down. We do have some hot tubs, some loungers, and then some of the main pools. On the opposite side that we'll get to over there in just a moment, there is some stadium seating as well. So this is pretty much our look from deck 16 down onto deck 15, which is the main pool deck. And of course, up here on deck 16, there is plenty of loungers and places to relax during the day. Heading back to the middle of the ship, we have the mast bar, which is one of the main pool bars here that we have on board. Directly below, we also have a different bar. So pretty much on decks 15 and 16 midship, you are going to find a bar on that starboard side of the ship. And then, of course, right in the middle, we have kind of this little breezeway that connects both sides together, since we do have that split structure here on the Oasis class. And here's a better look going forward at that stadium seating I was mentioning earlier. They're even doing some lifeguard training this morning while I was filming this, which is really cool, in one of those main pools. And as we turn ourselves around, we have another look at one of the pools. This one is one of the sports pools. They usually will do activities like the belly flop competition here. I've even seen them do something like volleyball, which is why they have that net up. And then going to continue inside on deck 16, we have the Windjammer Buffet, one of the most important places on the ship. The Windjammer is where your main buffet area on board the ship. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, pretty much anything you could think of you can find here. And you do get a very good view out at sea. You even have desserts, things like that as well. And then, of course, you can head to the very back if you don't want to sit on the edges there. If you sit along this back window here, you get a look at the mini golf course and the name of the ship, the basketball course, and just look down on boardwalk as well, which is really cool. And speaking of that area, let's drop down to deck 15 into the sign says the view. So looks like this is the mini golf course area, 9-hole mini golf. Pretty cool course, pretty fun. And then like earlier with that pool deck, there is that split structure still. That is the boardwalk that's going to be down below us down on deck 6. Have that little platform there is the zip line that goes across. And then here's just a look down on deck 6 to the boardwalk. Let's go ahead and hop this tiny little staircase and we head over to the flow rider area. These are 2 flow riders here on board the Oasis class. Other than Wonder and Utopia, which are the 2 newest, all Oasis class ships have 2 of them. And then Allure of the Seas has not received her big royal upgrades yet, so there is no Ultimate Abyss on this ship yet, but they do have the Wipeout Cafe right in the middle between those 2 flow riders. One side is going to be boogie boarding, and then the other side is going to be stand-up surfing. And now we're going to head down those stairs on the opposite side. Here we have the basketball court. This is a full-size basketball court here on board Allure of the Seas. Right now, that crew member is getting it set up for pickleball. They usually will do pickleball games in the morning. Sometimes it's hosted by crew. I don't know if maybe it was a tournament that they were doing, but they do have pickleball games early in the morning, and then, of course, basketball at night. And then as we start making our way forward on the starboard side of the ship, we have El Loco Fresh. This is the Mexican buffet area here on board the ship. If you're familiar with Allure of the Seas, whenever she first came out, this used to be the Wipeout Cafe. This is also found on some of the newer ships as well, like Wonder, Symphony, and even Oasis that was recently upgraded. Here we have a tiny little gift shop. Here the hours of operations are on the door here, but I honestly never saw this place open. It was kind of weird. And then right across from that, we have the video arcade. You want the kids to come in, spend some of your money, win some tickets, maybe some prizes in these little claw machines, arcade games. Sounds like a pretty good time to me. So go ahead and hop into the video arcade and check it out. So we're going to continue our walk forward here on deck 15. We have the kids splash H2O area, or splash away bay is what they call it. This has also not been upgraded. This was originally here on Oasis of the Seas, but during her refit back a couple years ago, this was actually taken out just for a different updated type of area. But it is cool to see this in its original form. And then like I mentioned earlier with that mast bar, we have right below it, we have the sand bar right below it. It's a much bigger bar than the one above it. But if you need some drinks while you're hanging out and watching the kids play in the water park, it's a great place to grab a drink. And then, of course, just better views, and down on deck 15 of the main pool area, we have a couple hot tubs, and then the main pool, tons and tons of loungers. And then pretty much as we wrap around the front here, we're going to get a great look down the center of the ship, and of course get a great view of the Central Park down below on deck 8 and all those Central Park balconies. If you want a tour of the Central Park balconies, use the end card at the end of the video for a tour of the stateroom that I stayed in. It was one of the Central Park balconies. Skipping inside to deck 14 forward, we have the Adventure Ocean. This is the Kids Club area. And then also on deck 14 forward, we have the Sun Deck. On the Allure of the Seas, you do get access to the bridge wings, but unlike the newer sister ships, Symphony, Harmony, and Wonder, where you have to go through the Solarian to get there, you have to go through the deck 14 Sun Deck to get access to this large open area. Nothing really here other than loungers, but you do get access to those bridge wings where you get the amazing shots of the view down the side of the ship. Definitely recommend coming here. It's a great spot for sailaways for sure. Because it's so hidden, not many people are ever up here in the first place, so it's a great spot to be if you're looking for a nice place to relax. Decks 12, 11, and 10 are all going to be decks 12, 11, 10, and 9 are all going to be staterooms. So we're going to skip down to deck 8, midship, to Central Park. Here we have Vintages on one side, and then on the other side we have some of the high-end, more luxury stores here on board. Vintages is a wine bar where you can go in and buy bottles of wine or glasses of wine, and then of course you can buy coach purses and any other items as well. As we make our way back to the middle part of Central Park, we start to run into some of the restaurants that we have here. We have Giovanni's Italian, which is the Italian restaurant on board, of course. And then, of course, on the other side of that, or just a little bit further down, we're going to have Park Cafe, which is one of the other main areas on board the ship. You can go in here. This is open for, I believe, breakfast as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know they do have lunch, and the lunch there is very good. You can get salads, beef sandwiches, things like that. And of course, going to continue our way all the way through. We have the bar here on Central Park. Not a very big one, but there usually is a pretty good crowd here, so a good place to grab a drink while you take in the nice, relaxing vibes of Central Park. And then here we have one of the staples of the Oasis class. We have the Rising Tide bar. We're on the top level of it, so deck 8. This bar on the inside of the glass will go from deck 8 and will lower itself down into the Royal Promenade down on deck 5. We'll get to a different view of that here as we continue our tour. Here we have 150 Central Park, which is another one of the specialty restaurants on board, and then Chops Grill, which is the specialty steakhouse on board. I did not have it on this cruise, but Chops Grill I did have on Symphony of the Seas last year. It is very, very good. As we come out of Central Park on deck 8, we're going to skip deck 7 as there is nothing there other than staterooms, and we're going to make our way down to deck 6 onto the boardwalk. This is another one of the main neighborhoods here on board Allure of the Seas. Off to our left-hand side here, we have the Doghouse, which is a little hot dog stand that we have here. It kind of fits in with a little bit of a boardwalk vibes. And then right in the dead center, we have the Carousel, which is one of the main attractions here on board the ship. And across from the hot dog stand, we have an ice cream parlor. This is not Ben & Jerry's like on the Freedom class, but it is a pay-to-eat ice cream shop. And right next to that, we have the video arcade, or a second video arcade. And then as we go down further, we have Sabor, however you want to pronounce that. But it's a almost like a Mexican themed restaurant. It is a little bit cheaper than most of the other specialty dining restaurants, but it is still a one that you have to pay to eat. And then right at the bottom here, or right at the end, we have the Sabre Bar. And then at the very end of the boardwalk, we have one of the signature areas here on board the Allure of the Seas. We have the Aqua Theater, complete with 2 rock walls on each side with large Aqua Theater suite staterooms right next to that as well that overlook the Aqua Theater. And then now we're going to continue back through on the other side. They're just so big, or the area is so big that it's hard to get everything in one shot. So we'll pretty much see it going down, and then we'll get the other side going back up. But we have Johnny Rockets, very good, basically a 50s themed diner. You do have to pay to eat, but it is free for breakfast. Here we have Star Pier, which is just a little gift shop type of area, just a very small one. Then next to that we have Candy Beach, which is a small candy store. And then just right next to that, we have Pinwheels, which is another just extra merchandise store that's kind of focused towards kids. They usually only have kid sizes in any of these places. So we're going to head back inside, still on deck 6, as we make our way forward now here on Allure of the Seas. We have the Schooner Bar and the Loyalty Desk. Schooner Bar is a iconic lounge and bar on board all of Royal Caribbean ships. Very large one here on board Allure of the Seas and all of the other Oasis-class ships. And then on the other side, we have the Shore Excursions Desk and the Photo Gallery. Allure still has not been updated like some of the other ships, so they do have some of the old school folders where you would find some of your printouts of your photos, but they do also have a couple desks where you can go in, swipe your card, and use the touchscreen to go ahead and order your printouts as well. So they do have a mix of the old and the new style of getting your photos, which is really cool to have. And we're going to skip over the Royal Promenade that's down below on 5, because all the way forward at deck 6, we have Vitality at Sea, which is the spa on board. And there is also the large gym inside here as well. We didn't go all the way in, but deck 6 forward is where you're going to find Vitality at Sea. And then we're going to skip back to the back of deck 5. We have the main dining room. This is the Silk Dining Room, which is the top level of it. Each of the 3 levels have a different theme or name to it. But the main dining room is a 3-level dining room. It's absolutely massive. I believe it's the largest at sea here on the Oasis-class ships. But it spans decks 3, 4, and 5, and each of these 3 are just massive. And then, of course, now we're going to start making our way forward to the Royal Promenade, the main stretch here on board Allure of the Seas. You're going to find all sorts of shopping and everything here, starting off with the Champagne Bar. Newer Oasis-class ships like Symphony, Wonder, and Harmony all have the Bionic Bar here, but Allure of the Seas has the original Champagne Bar. And across from that, we have guest services. If you have any issues or you just need anything from the ship, head over to guest services and they'll be happy to take care of you. And then right in between the two of those, we have the Rising Tide Bar, like I mentioned earlier, that goes up to Central Park. It is up in Central Park when I took this, and it even has a cool little waterfall and water effects down here on deck 5, but essentially it's going to lower itself from deck 8 down to deck 5 where we are at now. Here we have Cafe Promenade, which is one of the main coffee shops here on board. You can also get pastries here as well, which is nice. And of course, the menu here at Cafe Promenade is the full Starbucks menu, even though there's a Starbucks down the promenade. And across from that, we have the next cruise desk. I spent a little bit too much time here this cruise. Liberty of the Seas, I will see you in March. Making our way further down here, we have another just random shop with some stuff in here. I don't remember this even being open during the cruise. And then across from that, we have Sorrento's as we continue our way down. Sorrento's is the free pizza on board. One of my favorite places to eat on any Royal Caribbean ship is Sorrento's. And across from there, we have the Bow and Stern, which is the Irish pub that's on board. Continuing on, we have all of the shops. We have some stuff here in the middle where there's going to be crew members, doing the sales and all of that. And then we have Solera and the Shops, which is the Royal Caribbean merchandise store. We can buy ship models, t-shirts, hoodies, all sorts of really cool stuff. Anything with a Royal Caribbean logo plastered on it, it's going to be here. And right in the middle here, we are going to have the actual Starbucks that's here on board Allure of the Seas. And then here on one side we have On Air, which seems to be the karaoke lounge. They do seem to have a couple nights where they will do karaoke here on board the ship in the On Air lounge. And then across from that, on the opposite side of the Starbucks, we will have Boleros, which is another live music lounge where they'll have people come in and live music, and it'll be a really good time. This will have multiple entrances throughout Deck 5, but on the outside of Deck 5, we have the jogging track up here. I didn't film it, but at the very front of Deck 5 on the jogging track, there is an entrance into the gym as well. Then heading back inside, we're going to hop down to Deck 4. We have the Amber Theater, which is the main theater here on board. And then right outside there, we have currently an art gallery going on. And then we have Blaze, which is one of the lounges here on board. And then there's also the Comedy Club, or the Comedy Lounge, here on board as well. And then right behind that, we have Studio B, which is the ice skating rink. Unfortunately, all of these areas that we've just been to are all closed at the moment, so I couldn't get into any of them. But Studio B is the ice skating rink, and it's one of the main attractions on Allure of the Seas. And all of the other ships, they debuted back on the Voyager class a long time ago. And then one of the last things here, we have the Casino Royale. This is a very, very large casino. And surprisingly, it didn't smell like smoke. There are ships that are better than others, and there's some that are very, very bad. I did not notice too prominent of a smoke smell, but of course, lots of slot machines, blackjack tables, roulette, all of that stuff. And of course, here we have the casino bar as well. So there's a bar right in the middle. There are usually bartenders that are bringing around drinks to you as well, or taking orders, so you don't always have to go up to the bar. And then our final piece here, Deck 4, all the way back next to the Grand Restaurant, which is the second level, or the middle level of the main dining room. We have Izumi, which is the Japanese hibachi restaurant. Again, one of those lounges that I just could not get in like earlier, but Izumi is found on Deck 4, all the way aft, next to the Grand Restaurant. And that will conclude our ship tour of Allure of the Seas. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Do you like Allure of the Seas? Have you sailed on her in the past, or do you have an upcoming cruise on her? She just started sailing the 3- and 4-night Bahamas and Coco Cay itineraries from Port Canaveral. So with that, again, leave a like if you enjoyed today's video. Subscribe down below to continue following along all the Allure of the Seas content, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.